بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Who are the people who should receive zakah? And listen carefully. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah At-Tawbah, Surah number 9 and number 60. Can you repeat? 960. This is not a radio station. Say 960. What's 960? 9 is Surah At-Tawbah and 60 is the number of the ayah. Allah specified the 8 categories who deserve to receive zakah. Who are they? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتِ. Listen carefully. Okay? Allah used the word sadaqah, but He means zakah. So don't be confused. Even when Allah talked about zakah as a pillar, in Surah number 9, ayah 103, He said, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً, which is zakah. You know what's the meaning of sadaqah? It stems from sidq, meaning showing the truthfulness of your iman. That when Allah gave you the money, it will always be a trust in your hand, not a love in your heart. Because if the money moves from a trust in your hand to a love in your heart, it will be a big problem to give. Is that clear? Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتُ, count with me. Number 1, لِلْفُقَرَاء. Is it clear? Alhamdulillah, I think it's clear. Number 1, al-fuqara. So, what's a faqir? Listen carefully to the definition, because, you know, we have how many Muslims today? 1.7 billion. 1 out of each 5 walking on earth is a Muslim. We wish, inshallah, the quality will be good, inshallah. But you know what? Amongst the 1.7 billion, there is 1.8 billion mufti. I'm serious. Ask the one next to you. What do you think of this brother? Is smoking, it's like, you know, according to me, it's makruh. Who are you? I'm a smoker. You're a smoker or a mufti? Have some shame, akhi. It's like, yeah, you know, those strict shuyukh, they're going to say haram, but they don't know what they're talking about. There is no ayah in the Quran that says, you know, smoking is haram. Yeah, bro, there is no ayah also that says cocaine is haram. Can you do cocaine? Okay, let's go back. So al-fuqara, who is al-faqir? Who is al-faqir? Al-faqir, who doesn't have something for the day. Imagine if somebody doesn't have food for today. That's a faqir. Is that clear? So this is why the translation said the destitute, al-mu'dam, doesn't have anything. So I'm going to move to al-miskin to make comparison between the two. Then who is a miskin? Miskin is somebody who have something, but it's not enough. For example, we said the faqir doesn't have anything, right? But the miskin, I'll give you a real example from our life, because there are some people amongst us who are miskin, but they never say it, because they're very decent. If somebody makes 2,000, but his expenses 3,500, he's a miskin. He will never talk to you. He'll go and take a debt from here and there. But he's a miskin, he deserves zakah. So a miskin is somebody whose expenses are more than his income. Is that clear? You might say, subhanAllah, you know, this brother, mashallah, is driving a car and he's coming to ask for zakah. Yeah, because he needs that car like you need a car to drive his kids to the... It's a necessity. It's not a luxury. Because if they take the bus, it will even be more. Okay? But then his expenses for the whole month, okay, is much more than what he makes. He might, his salary, according to the contract, might be 5,000. But then what does he get after the taxes? 3,000 something, right? What if his expense is 5,000? He's a miskin. Is that clear? Okay, number 3. وَالْعَامِلِينَ عَلَيْهَا. Those who collect the zakah. What does that mean? It means in a country that is Muslim, there are people who are appointed by the government. Their work is to go and collect zakah. Okay? It's not, for example, a number of volunteers and people put the money in a box and then they collect the money. These are not al-amilin alayh. Because these brothers could be rich enough and they don't deserve zakah. But when they said al-amilin alayha, in a Muslim country, when the government employs people, their main job is to collect the money. So they use all their time to do this. This is why we give them zakah from that money. Even if those people volunteer, then they would not ask for zakah, as long as they are employed to do that job. Is that clear? So this is the third category. وَالْمُؤَلَّفَةِ قُلُوبُهُمْ. Al-mu'allafati qulubuhum are two types. Could be non-Muslims and it could be new Muslims. Let me say this again. Could be non-Muslims, it could be new Muslims. What does that mean? At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there were some people who were non-Muslims and they were very tough. So sometimes they were given some money to stop their evil that they will do to the Muslims. So it was given to them لِتَأْلِيفِ قُلُوبِهِمْ, to establish a loving relationship with them and stop them from doing that. That doesn't exist now. Okay? But if somebody is interested in Islam and they're coming to learn about Islam and they are in need, then we give them money to help them and to try to make it easy for them to come to the hold or the fold of Islam. Is that clear? Let's talk about a new Muslim. Mostly new Muslims, when they accept Islam, what happens to them? Some of them are kicked out of their homes. Some of them are kicked out of their jobs. Sometimes sisters, she will start wearing hijab, they'll tell her, you're not welcome anymore in the job. What's our job as Muslims? This is one category of zakah. We give them money. We provide for them what they need. Now, let me go back to the faqir. How much should we give the faqir? Should we give him food for the day? No. We should give him money enough for the year. Because when people give money, they give money for the year. So we should give them money for the year. Until their poverty stops. Let's say, for example, after a month, he starts working and he's making money. Then we should stop giving him. Is that clear? What about the miskin? If the miskin makes 2,000 and his expenses are 3,000, how much should we give him? 1,000. Again, that will make him have enough to go for the year. But if he makes more during the year, we should stop giving him. Is that clear? Okay, we will take questions at the end, please. Okay, number 5, وَفِي الرِّقَابِ. What's وَفِي الرِّقَابِ? Back in the days, people were slaves. So how many times Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَتَحْرِيرُ رَقَبَةٍ? One of the, kaffarat in Islam. You need to go and free a slave person. So alhamdulillah, most probably it's not available today, but at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and this is one way for those who say Islam is supportive of slavery. SubhanAllah, one category of zakah is dedicated to what? To free slaves, to set the slaves free. وَالْغَارِمِينَ. Al-ghari means those who are in debt. Those who are in debt. So anyone in debt is eligible to zakah? Hello?
No.
Ottawa?
No.
Anyone in debt is eligible to zakah?
No.
No. Why?
A lot of worldly things that they do.
Excellent. Excellent. Remind me inshallah to give you one at the end. We don't want to open that can of worms now, okay? So, people who are in debt and cannot pay off their debt, yes. But what type of debt? I'll give you a scenario, okay? Your friend has a car, Honda Accord, 99. Alhamdulillah, good shape, good condition, and it takes him from point A to point B, okay? Then he decides all of a sudden to buy a BMW 2020, okay? And he comes to the masjid, he said, I'm sorry brothers, I'm in debt. $150,000 debt. Please help your Muslim brother. And Allah said in the Quran, وَالْغَارِمِينَ. MashaAllah, he knows the ayah. He's going to sell you 960. Can we give that brother? Can we pay off his debt? No. We say, go back to your Honda 99, brother. Okay? And get rid of that debt, inshallah. But we're talking about someone who needs something, a necessity. It's a need in his life. And he was forced to be in that debt. That's the debt that we give him. Okay? Sometimes it's a big money too. Yeah. Let's say for example, a brother, he doesn't have he moved here from Syria or whatever place or something. Okay, and they don't have a place to stay. And they don't have money to eat. They don't have a car to take the children. So would you give him $200? Say, Jazakallah khair akhi, inshallah, take this, inshallah. Allah will put barakah in the 200, inshallah. Just put them under the pillow and make dua, inshallah, in the morning they're going to be 200,000, inshallah. No, we should give them enough. Is that clear? Okay. Moving on. وَفِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Yeah, we have to stop here for a bit. What is the meaning of fi sabilillah? Classical scholars, all of them said jihad. That's the meaning of fi sabilillah. And they opposed any other interpretation because they said, if we open fi sabilillah for anything, so why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about all these categories at the beginning? Allah should have left it open, so everything is fi sabilillah. That's one opinion. And we have to share all opinions. Okay? So one opinion says, fi sabilillah, it's only for those who are leaving their house and at that time they were going for jihad. Okay? Now, contemporary scholars said that fi sabilillah, it means something that will support Islam and Muslims and the da'wah of Islam, especially when Muslims live in a minority and there is no ministry of endowment. Back home, in every Muslim country, we have a ministry for waqf. You know, endowments mean like waqf. You know, they collect like money. Some good people, they give donations, for example, and they say this is waqf fi sabilillah. Okay? So they said that money could be also given fi sabilillah, meaning it could be for building a masjid, for building a school, for building a hospital, for the Muslims where there is no source of income coming to those places, because the masajid, the schools, especially the Islamic ones, their main source of income is what? Your pockets. Donations. Right? What if you don't give donations? And if somebody gave waqf, somebody gave lots of money, they said, you know what? This is my zakah. Is that clear? So we present the two opinions, and if you follow one, respect the other one. Always in Islam, when the scholars say two different opinions, if you follow one, respect the other one. Do not attack the other one. See, these people, they are very loose. These people, they don't care. Is that clear? So they said it could be spent on dua for Nashr al-Islam. You say, like, you go, you know, to Africa, for example, do da'wah there, and we'll take money out of that zakah, we'll spend it because we want to spread Islam. Is that clear? It could be spent on printing Islamic materials to spread Islam. So this is one opinion, and I shared the first opinion. Okay. Items to consider when calculating zakah. Now we're going into the calculation of zakah. Then that once we know like all the introduction to who should pay, the conditions, who should receive. Now we should take these items into consideration. Remember when we said access to wealth? So when you start calculating, make sure that you have access to that money. So if there is money that you don't have access to, you cannot add that money in your calculation.
You skip, you missed it. The category is the last one you skip.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Thank you. I'll give you 2 candy for this, inshallah. Wabn al-Sabil. I'm sorry, I forgot that one. What's the meaning of Ibn al-Sabil? Some people translate this as a traveler. Let's say, mashallah, one of the brothers decided to go to Malaysia, you know, to have some fun. And then he needs like $20,000 for that trip, inshallah. Can we consider him Ibn al-Sabil? No. He's a traveler. No. Why? Ibn al-Sabil doesn't mean traveler, it's the wayfarer. This is why we translated the wayfarer, meaning if somebody's traveling and all of a sudden he lost his money, he lost contact with his family, he doesn't have access to his money. He could be a millionaire back home, but he doesn't have access to that money. He tried everything possible and he's lost. I'll give you a real example. I went to do Umrah back in the days in 1990 something. And while I was doing tawaf, I had my wallet in my pocket and I had lots of cash because we're going to buy gold, because women love the gold in Saudi because it's very yellow coming from India, you know. So I had like about 5,000 riyals at that point. And mashallah, you look at the wallet, it was very tempting, you know. And it was my first experience to do Umrah. I didn't expect like when I'm in the Haram, something could happen to me. Okay? And I finished the Umrah, alhamdulillah. And we went to, you know, there's like a line of shops there, of jewelry. And you know, women love to visit all the shops before they buy. If it were you or me, we're going to go to the first shop, buy whatever comes first and go home. She's going to say, what type of taste is this? Astaghfirullah. Right? So they will visit like the 40 shops and they wouldn't like anything. They'll say, we'll come tomorrow inshallah to have a look again. So anyway, we went there, we visited all the 40 shops and I said, we need to decide because the bus is going to leave. It's like, okay. So we visited them again, second round, and alhamdulillah, we stopped at one. We picked the gold that we want to buy. And then I said, okay, calculate the money. He said like 4,900. I said, okay, alhamdulillah, everything. Oh my God, there is nothing. Where's the money? Next to the Kaaba. Wallahi, the money was stolen next to the Kaaba. So I went back and there is lost and found there. And they said, yeah, go and ask in lost and found. Inshallah, we're in Makkah, alhamdulillah, next to the Kaaba. So I went to the man very cheerfully. I said, like, you know, I think I just lost my wallet next to the Kaaba. He said, when? I said, about 15 minutes ago. He started laughing. I said, is that laugh for me? Like, yeah. I said, why? He said, are you dreaming? You lost it 15 minutes, you're coming to ask for it? Come after 2 months, inshallah, you'll find the wallet. Maybe if the guy is really nice, he will leave your IDs there. He might leave you a riyal as a sadaqah or something, you know. I was shocked, wallahi. And when I walked out, it was Ramadan, 27th of Ramadan. So we did the Umrah 27, and that was the 28th we were supposed to leave because I was living there at that time. Amazingly enough, the bus was supposed to leave at 3 o'clock, and it was almost 2:40. And by the time we move from there, go to the hotel, we'll be done. So I said to my wife, just go, stop the bus until I can bring the bag and come. By the time she arrived there, the bus said, we're leaving, and we cannot take you without a mahram. So you stay here, and the bus left. So imagine, can the word Ibn Sabil apply to me?
Yes.
Yes. Even though I have money, you see the example now? I mean, I was living in Riyadh at that time, and I have money. But even there was no credit card by that time, by the way. That invention was not there yet, okay? You know what's a credit card? It's a plastic thing, you know it? By which people buy things that they don't have to impress people that they don't know, by money that they don't have. That's a credit card, right? Anyway, so what happened is we went out, and I said, let's go back to the Kaaba. And my wife said, let's go to the bus, let's take another bus because we need to go home. I said, I need to go to the Kaaba. And wallahi, I went to the Kaaba and I prayed 2 rak'ah and I cried. I've never ever in my life extended my hand to people. I've never even imagined, I'm going to tell people, give me money because I'm a traveler and I don't have money. I couldn't imagine that. And in my sujood, I said, Ya Allah, I am your guest in your house. And you know my intention. Wallahi, I was coming just to visit your house so that you'll be pleased with me. I've never been through this in my life. I don't know how to extend my hand to people, but you can hear me. Wallahi, Ya Allah, you can hear me and you can see me now. I am extending my hand to you because I will never extend it to people. And I had that peace after I said this, and I cried. I walked out of Al-Masjid Al-Haram and we went to the public transportation. For us to go there, my wife was pregnant. SubhanAllah, the taxi should take 2 riyals, but that's the season. I found 2 riyals here, 50 riyals here, 100 riyal here, but it's not even enough to take us back home to Riyadh. So I tried to stop the taxi and he's like, 20 riyals. And I said, I don't have enough money to give him 20 riyals. I said, isn't it 2 riyals? He said, Ruh. And he left me. Then another man in a private car, he said, 90 riyals. I said, Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair. Anyway, I made a deal with a taxi for 10 riyals. We went into the taxi and they started throwing dates because the time for iftar was very close, and water. And my wife started crying. She's like, we're gonna eat from sadaqah? And then we arrived at the public transportation. I got all the money that I have. It was 160. And one ticket is 150. And my wife cannot travel without me as a mahram because they're gonna stop at the checkpoint. So I said to the man, what guarantee can I give you? And he gave us just 2 tickets. The moment I arrive in Riyadh, I'll give you double the money. He said, sir, I work here. I can't do that. I said, Jazakallah khair. And wallahi, when I left the masjid, something in my heart is telling me that I cried to Allah. And Allah saw me when I was doing sujood in the Kaaba. I found somebody patting my shoulder. I turned around, he said, are you Dr. Reda Bedeir? I looked at him, I said, yes. He said, don't you know me? I said, no. He said, I'm the owner of the company that you came with, and your bus was supposed to leave at 3 o'clock. I said, yeah, something happened and we missed the bus. He said, no, we can't treat you like that. You paid 500 riyals for the bus, here is your money back. And he put the money in my pocket and he just walked away. And I just made sujood in my spot. In my spot. Wallahi, that moment, it was a historic moment in my life. This is when you feel that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala listens to you. Allah can feel your pain when you go to Him with your heart. And my wife couldn't hold her tears. And we traveled all the way. And then one of my friends, when he came to do Umrah, he brought me the wallet, alhamdulillah, but it was clean. So this is Ibn Sabil. The man could be a millionaire in his own country or in his own city, but a wayfarer means somebody who's cut off access to money, his own cash, and he doesn't know what to do. So should we give him zakah? Yes. The question is how much? Enough to take him back home. If he needs, for example, to stay in a hotel for $300, and then a ticket from here to Vancouver, for example, that will cost $600, some money for the food. So we make a calculation, if it's like $900, give him $1,000. That's Ibn Sabil. Is it clear now? Okay. So, items to consider. Access to the wealth. We should have access to the wealth. If you don't have access to the money, do not include that money in your calculation for zakah. Is that clear? And we're going to give example again. Intentions behind investment or asset. This is going to come, but let me give you an introduction. Let's say you have $200,000, okay, extra. No, let's give a realistic one. How much is a house here? يعني مشي حالك يعني مش لازم يبقى حاجة 300 could. Okay, let's go with this. You have $300,000 extra, and you know if you wait till the time of zakah comes, the zakah will keep eating that money if you keep it, right? So you decided to invest that money and buy a piece of land. Now there are two intentions. Listen carefully to this because this is very important. You have two intentions. This is why I'm going to ask you, what's your intention? When you made that investment, did you buy that piece of land with the intention to sell it the very first moment somebody will come and you can make profit out of it? Or are you going to invest and forget about it? Maybe in 5 years, 10 years, Allahu A'lam, you might need it. At that point, you're going to sell it. Let me repeat the scenarios again. Scenario number one, you invest in the money just to make business, to make profit. So for example, if you buy it today, somebody tomorrow comes and say, I'll give you 300,000, 50. So how much profit did you make? 50. You sell it. So this is urud al-tijara. In this case, you are going to give zakah on the asset and the profit. The whole of the 350. Is that clear? But if you invest the 300 in a piece of land with the intention you're going to leave it, Allahu A'lam, it could be 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whenever you need it. You are not doing like, you're not just like doing it like as a business. But at some point when you need it, you're going to sell it, then there is no zakah for this one. Until the time comes and you sell it, you give zakah one time, 2.5%, the whole thing. Is that clear? Let me repeat it for the third time. I have $300,000 extra, and I want to invest. That investment could be one of two types. You are investing with the intention to sell it again and again and make profit all the time. Is that clear? That money, when the hawl comes and you calculate the nisab, you add that money because the intention is you're going to sell it and make profit, sell it and make profit. You pay zakah 2.5% of everything, the asset, the money, and the profit you make. So the asset was 300, you made profit 7 70, 50, 100 more, you give 2.5% of all of it. But if you put the money in that piece of land and you forget about it, with the intentions just to invest the money, not to leave it to the zakat to eat it out, you are not tricking Allah, you are investing your money. Because when the time comes and you need it and you sell it, you will give zakah on the whole thing, but one time when you sell it. This is going to come again, but I'm just giving you an introduction. It's going to come again, okay? Ability to pay. For example, I might, have money, but my money is not with me. This brother took 10,000 as a debt, and this brother took another, debt, like a loan for 2 years. I don't have the money. You understand what I'm saying? And we're going to talk about this type of debt. Basically, when I said fatwa versus taqwa, it means you can give me information to fool me, and I'll give you fatwa based on that. So you have to have taqwa, and I will give you the fatwa. Okay? You don't give me the fatwa, and I'm not going to teach you taqwa, because you know what taqwa is. Okay. How to pay on that date? Step number 1, we calculate the hawl. We made that easy before, right? We said, we agreed hypothetically that all of us will pay on which day? First day of? So if you have paid your zakah first day of Ramadan last year, you're going to pay your zakah on the first day of Ramadan. So on that day, you check everything. Check the bank balance. Okay? Check the gold that you have at home. Check, if you give somebody a loan and that loan is coming, it's coming. If you have business, check the inventory. Even if things are outside, people took something from you and they owe you money and that money is coming, check that too, calculate that. We're going to go into this in detail, inshallah. These are the types of wealth to consider. Cash or cash equivalent. Jewelry. When I say cash equivalent, I mean what? You have a check, and that amount you can cash it anytime. Don't say, no, the cash is only in the bank. I'm just going to keep those checks, hide them somewhere until 3rd of Ramadan, inshallah, and I'm going to get them out and put them in the balance, inshallah. Okay? Jewelry. All types of jewelry? No. Only gold and silver. And some sisters are going to fight with me now. What about diamond? Wallahi, there's no zakah on diamond. What if I change all my money into diamond? Wallahi, you are free. Nobody's gonna force you to do that or not. That's what Allah told us. That's what the Prophet ﷺ taught us. If it is gold or silver, there is zakah. Anything else, there is no zakah. This is why there is a trend now. When you go to get married, your wife is gonna say, buy me diamond. Okay? Because she knows that paying the zakah for the gold is on her. It's not on you. Because you're not gonna be punished twice. You buy the gold and you give the zakah. Astaghfirullah. The poor brothers, astaghfirullah. Stocks and shares. Do I give zakah on that? Yes, but there are conditions. We're going to talk about them when the time comes. There are conditions. Okay? The RRSP and the RESP, should we give zakah on that? Yes, and there are conditions. We're going to explain when should we pay and when we have to delay. Business wealth, inventory, pay from business versus personally, ownership percentages, debt, accounts receivable, harvest, livestock, even haram. Some people deal with riba, right? And they get money out of that. What's the hukm on that? Let's go and talk in detail about each one of them, inshallah. So how do we deal with the cash? Cash means the balance in your bank account, the checks that you get and you can cash them at any time. It also means anything in the form of these two currencies, which is gold or silver. Is that clear? That's what we mean by cash. Okay. So that's the first thing I'm going to put in my item. I'm going to say, I have $1,200 in my bank account. Put this as item number 1. Okay? I have gold equal to that amount. and I'm going to come to the question, the main question by the sisters. I have jewelry that my victim, my husband, bought me when we got married. And he keeps giving me gifts, mashallah, every month. Every time we fight, this is why I fight with him 5 times a day. 5 times a month. So every time he comes to do sulh, he has to buy something. So I have accumulated lots of gold at home. Do I have to give zakat on that? We're going to talk about this. It's coming. You know what? Let's talk about it now to make the sisters happy. Okay? Not much happy, okay? Basically, there are two opinions about the gold that the sister had. Okay? The first opinion, they said, is that gold used or hoarded? هل يستعمل ولا بيتخزن? Okay? Meaning, do you wear it to dazzle the eyes of your sister when there is a wedding? And just go and do like this all the time? Okay? That's number one. Do you use it to beautify yourself in front of your, what do we call him? Did you say victim before? A husband? Okay. Your husband? Do you do that? Okay. So is it used or saved? If it is saved, there is no khilaf, no difference of opinion. You have to give zakat on that gold. And again, it is 2.5%. But it should reach the nisab. Remember what we said? It's in your position, that's number one. It's with you. Or even if you have it in a safe in the bank, you can have access to that. Number two, it reaches the nisab. It means it's 85 grams and above. Okay? Or if it's added to the cash and the other stuff that you have, and both of them will reach the nisab, then you give 2.5%. The other opinion says if you use it, then there is no zakat. But you know what? I'll go with the third opinion, which is, they said, min bab al-ahwat. Because there is a weak hadith, and I'm repeating this, there is a weak hadith, okay? And the madhab al-Hanafi, they use this weak hadith, okay? When the Prophet ﷺ saw a woman and she was wearing two, what do you call them here? Buckles? Whatever, you know what I'm talking about, okay? That's enough to act it, okay? Okay? And he said, why would a person, purposely put two like rounds of fire around their heads, and this will be burned on their hands on the day of judgment? So you should give zakah instead of hoarding that money. That's a weak hadith, and this is why the Ahnaf based their fatwa on this. They said, any gold the woman have, she has to give zakah. That's the fiqh of the Hanafi madhab. But Imam al-Shafi'i and others, they said, if she uses it, then there is no zakah. But the scholars at the end said, you know what? To be safe. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah At-Tawbah, Surah number 9, ayah number 23, He said, وَالَّذِينَ يَكْنِزُونَ الذَّهَبَ وَالْفِضَّةَ. And those who keep the gold and the silver, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on the day of judgment, it will be made into boards and it will be burnt. And how it will be used? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will be used to, to burn their backs and their sides and their faces. هَذَا مَا كَنَزْتُمْ لِأَنفُسِكُمْ. That's what you hoarded for yourself, because basically it's money and you're holding that money. If you get that money for people to use and even invest that money yourself, it will be helping in the turnout of the economy and the turnout of the capital. People will be working, people will be benefiting from that. So for me, I always say it's safe to give zakah for that. But again, I give you all the opinions and it's up to you to follow which one you like, inshallah. So again, how we deal, I think I answered this one. So anything in the form of gold or silver, it's zakatable. Any other precious metals, like rubies, like pearl, like diamond, and sisters are well versed in the rest, inshallah. That's not zakatable. We don't give zakah for that. How do we deal with stocks and investments? Very simple. I made it very simple. Look at this. Day trading, short-term investment. As I said, I buy something, I buy a house with the intention to sell the house for the first one out of whom I'm going to make profit. We call this short-term investment. I'm buying something with the intention to sell it again to make money. In this scenario, what happens? What happens? Do I calculate this? Yeah, I calculate what? I calculate the asset and the profit. Let's say, for example, I invested 100,000, and when I sold it for 105 within 1 week. So how much should I give? 2.5% of the 105. Okay? I give you the other scenario. Number 2, long-term investment. Let's say, for example, I'm going to buy a piece of land for the 100,000, and I will leave it when I need it. It could be after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. There is no zakah every year for that. So I don't include this in my calculation. But the year I sell that land, I give zakah only one time on everything, the asset and the profit. For example, if you buy that piece of land for 100,000, after 10 years, it could be 200,000. How much should I give? 2.5% of the 200, not of the 100 profit. Both the asset and the profit. Cashing out. What do you do when you cash out? What's the meaning of cashing out?
Put it in your pocket, take it out of the bank.
Yeah, when you have any liquid money in the bank and then you cash that money. Okay, if you have a check and you just cash that money. If you sell that land and you get the cash out of that money, it's all money. Whether it's in the form of assets or cash. Okay, so this is also added. Everything is coming. How do we deal with retirement plans? RRSP, RESP, pension funds. Very simple. We have 2 scenarios. Some of them, they will keep them until the time for retirement comes. You don't have access until that time comes. So you keep it there. When you take the money, you take what we call the deductions, the taxes, because they take taxes on some money. So the net that you will get out of that, you give 2.5%. Okay? But the first scenario we said, it can be withdrawn. Treat it like a cash. You treat it like a cash. So it's like within my position. Anytime I can go and say, you know what? I don't want that retirement. I want to take it now. So as long as you have it in your position, you cash it, treat it like cash. You add it to the money that's zakatable, and you give 2.5% out of that. How do we deal with real estate? How do we deal with real estate? I have 4 scenarios for you. If the property is your residence, if I have a house that I live in, is there zakah on that house? No. I'm using it. So there is no zakah. If I have a house that I live in, but I own another house and I'm renting that house, should I give zakah? The answer is yes. On everything, the answer is no. The answer is no. What do? I take the profit that I make out of the rental and I deduct from that the expenses, like what? Like the taxes and other costs. You know, other costs, like, you repair the house, you do something, then the net profit, stay away from the asset. The net profit, after deducting what? The taxes and the expenses, the cost of repair or anything, then you take 2.5% and add that to the zakah money. If the property is for sale, again, it's exactly as we said before. If I'm buying a property to sell, then what do? If I make profit, I pay for the asset and the profit. And this is extra than the place where I'm living. Anything that I'm using for residence, I don't pay zakah for. What about if I have a car? Do I give zakah for the car? No. What if I have a car for everyone in the house? I have 4 cars. Do I give zakah for the other cars? As long as they are for use, no zakah. But if I have an extra 2 cars and they are used now in the new invention called, give me the word, Uber, and I'm making profit out of that, what should I do? Again, not the asset. The profit, deduct what? Taxes, expenses, give 2.5%. So anything that I use, no zakah. Anything I make profit of, after deductions, I give 2.5%, except when I am doing business with the land or the house itself. Okay? If I'm using it to sell and make profits, I pay for the asset and the profit made out of it. Coming, wallahi coming, wallahi coming. عندنا مثل المصريين بيقولوا لو صبر القاتل على المقتول كان ايه؟ لا انا هقتله وانا هدخل في السجن. سيبني عليه بس. Okay. So as we said before, this is the first scenario. If I invest money for example, in a property, and I don't have any plans for it. I'm just leaving it. Maybe in 5 years, 10 years, I'm gonna sell it. There's no zakah. The year I sell it, I give zakah for what? Everything, the asset and the profit. Changing intentions. What if I have a house that I bought and I kept for some years, and then I changed my intention? You know what? I'm going to make business with that piece of land. So what happens? Instead of giving it one time, I give it every year, as long as I'm using it for profit. How do you deal with business inventory? You must pay zakah on inventory. If you have a business, but we have to meet the following conditions. You hold the inventory more than a lunar calendar. Again, from the beginning of Ramadan last year till the beginning of Ramadan next year, and then you see what's in the inventory that day. Okay, what price do I use? Is it the selling price or the purchase? Because I purchase for $5 and I sell for $7. Don't try to outsmart Allah. The selling price, then the one that you will make profit from. Okay? So you have to use the selling price. You have assigned the inventory for sale. Okay? And it reached the nisab, of course. What about accounts receivable? What do you mean by that? When you're doing business, you have to deal with other businesses, right? So you give them money, they give you money, you give them merchandise, they give you merchandise, right? If they owe you anything and you know that it's coming, you are sure that it's coming, add this in your zakatable money. Okay? That's one scenario. So this is considered good debt. As usually there is short-term limit on payment dates for this account. So you include this in the zakah calculation. Okay. Zakah on debt owed to you. What do I do? Scenarios. There are 2 types of debts. Good debt and bad debt. Okay? And sometimes we call it insolvent debt. Mu'sir. Meaning, somebody borrowed money from you, he owes you some money, but you are sure you can collect it. He says, brother, I'll take that loan from you this month, April, I'll give it to you inshallah before the beginning of Ramadan. So the first day of Ramadan, you know that you will collect that money. Okay? Shall I include that in my zakatable money? Yes. Is that clear? The other type of debt is called dead debt or bad debt. Okay? Meaning, you go to a brother and he said, I'll give you the money inshallah in April. April comes, he says, brother, I'm sorry, wallahi, my business is not doing well and I won't be able. So if you give him a grace period, like when would you be able to give me the money? Inshallah, by Eid al-Adha. So this is going to be past Ramadan. Okay? But still, it's a dead debt. You never know, he's going to come and, in Eid al-Adha he's going to say, still, the situation is the same. So if it's a bad debt, you don't expect to collect that money, don't include that money in your zakatable money. Okay? Here you go. Zakah on harvest and livestock. I'm not going to go into detail unless you have a land and you tell me the details. Inshallah, we're going to come and eat some fruits. Inshallah, we'll invite everybody here and we'll give you the details. I'll give you a handout about that, inshallah. But zakah for the harvest and livestock. You have to pay on the harvest and the livestock. When it comes to the harvest, if you have a piece of land and you're like growing something, there are certain items that are not zakatable. Like, I'm not going to go into detail because this is irrelevant, but anybody who wants to know, inshallah, I'm going to give him a handout. I have a whole file I can share with you, inshallah, because of the time. And we don't want to spend time on things that are irrelevant because I'm sure people now have millions of questions in their heads, inshallah. But the zakatable commodities, we have to give zakah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَآتُوا حَقَّهُ فَآتُوا حَقَّهُ يَوْمَ حَصَادِهِ, on the day of the harvest. When you do the harvest, you give that zakah. Okay, some lands, just what's the rate should I give? What's the rate should I give? I'm not going to go into detail like what is zakatable, what's not. If you need more, inshallah, I'll send you the file. But how much do we give? If the land is irrigated naturally by the rain from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you give 10%. How much? 10%. If you use machinery and people to help, you give 5%. Is that clear? I don't want to go into details of this, inshallah. So that's the summary of this. So if the land, the plants are growing because of the rain, you give 10%. But if that area doesn't have rain and you have to use like machinery and people and stuff, then you give only 5%. What about, and in some cases, 7.5. Livestock, camels, cows, goats, and sheep. We pay on per heads basis. And also there are measures for the wheat and the raisin and the zakatable crops too. And we pay on per head basis. Personal use of livestock, we do not pay on them. Like if I have a camel that I'm using, I don't give zakah on that. If I have cattle and sheep that I'm using, like for myself, look, there's no zakat on that. But the ones that I'm breeding and growing so that I can make money out of them, there are certain numbers for every number. There is a number of them that should be given in zakah, inshallah. If you have camels, cows, goats, and sheep, see me, inshallah, after Isha. So only you give zakah for those that you are intending to sell, inshallah. Can we pay the zakah for the harvest and the livestock in cash? Yes. You can calculate the value and you can give it, in cash. Two common questions about impermissible earning streams. Some people deal with banks and they deal with riba. So they make what we call haram money. Is that haram money zakatable? No. This is like a consensus agreement amongst the scholars that if it's haram money, inna Allah tayyibun la yaqbalu illa tayyiba. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to accept riba money or haram money from anyone. So sometimes, some people is going to say, I made $1 million out of drugs. Should I give 2.5 zakah? Allah will not accept that because that's haram money. So if somebody makes some interest, for example, and they decided to do tawbah and they're not going to deal with interest anymore, what should happen to that money that they made as interest? I'm not going to say profit because profit is ribh. which is the halal word, but interest means riba or faida. Okay? The scholar said you get rid of that money with the intention of tawbah, but do not expect to pay it in zakah or even sadaqah, because sadaqah, you know, إن الصدقة لا تقع في يد الرب قبل أن تقع في يد العبد. When you give sadaqah, the sadaqah, you know, it lies in the hand of Allah before it lies in the hand of the person receiving the sadaqah. This is why Aisha radiallahu anha used to perfume whatever money she's going to give for the sake of Allah, because she said it's going to fall in the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before it will fall in the hand of the person receiving it. Okay? So, deductions. Of course, there are certain things that we should deduct, you know, when we are doing the calculations, okay? For example, expenses. Liabilities before paying zakah. Monthly living expenses. You know, debts you owe. If you have a debt, you pay your debt first. So these are the deductions. The monthly living expenses, immediate due. The monthly, astaghfirullah, mortgage, one payment you are making. You know, you decided to make tawbah, you're not going to do this anymore, so you have to take this out. Rental payment. Okay, if you are renting, you know, then you pay the rent. Fines. You used to park in the parking lot of the masjid, and the masjid, inshallah, is going to strictly follow a policy of $300 if anyone doesn't respect the masjid the way they park, whether they park their shoes or whether they park their cars. You might go out, you will not find your shoes. You might go out, you will not find your cars. Don't ask me how. Okay, property tax or other tax payments. It falls in the month you are paying zakah. You pay that too. Transport costs, medical expenses, groceries and bills, insurance on the home, the car, medical insurance, any other living expenses you incur for yourself or your family. Deduct that and then give your zakah. Debts that you owe individually or as a business, pay your debts. If the debt date is due, you must pay your debt first before paying your zakah. A common question that I'm going to start with before the adhan is coming, and inshallah we're going to open the floor. Did I smell something like food or something? Oh, they're going to treat you, mashallah. Say takbir. Allah is giving you sadaqah now. Say alhamdulillah. Allah is reminding you should give zakah, huh? And you should give sadaqah to the masjid before you leave too, right? Pay Allah back. Allah is hosting you, right? Okay, some people say, if I have a debt and that debt is scheduled, so this is my food, everybody's going to eat food and I'm going to eat that? Astaghfirullah. Okay. Jazakallah khair. So if I have a debt, let's say for example, astaghfirullah, 50,000 or something, okay? And that debt is scheduled. Like for example, every month I pay 1,000. And I have extra money with me, and that money could reach the nisab. Should I pay zakah? Yes. Can I go for Hajj? Yes. Let me repeat this again. I have a debt of 50,000, but that debt is scheduled, meaning I can't pay it all at once. Otherwise, if you can, of course, mashallah, go ahead and do it. But it's scheduled, like every month they deduct from my salary $1,000. But the remaining 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, this is the money that I spend on my family. And then there is like some savings here and there. So by the end of the year, on the 1st of Ramadan, I found that my money reaches the nisab. Do I give zakah? Yes, sir. You have to give zakah. And if that money is enough for me to go for Hajj, can I go for Hajj? Yes. Your scheduled debt does not stop you from giving zakah, does not stop you from performing hajj. Is that clear? I'm going to give you a break because I have talked too much. It's your turn to talk, but after you make wudu, get ready for maghrib, and then take your break, finish the biryani or whatever, food that they have brought for you here, inshallah, and then come back to me. But please don't eat too much so that you can be able to look at me and see me, more than one person, and then you can ask me your question, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair.